Wednesday, 7:26. I'm headed to school. And I realized yesterday, because someone asked me a question on Instagram, either in a post or through a DM, just how I was feeling about the school year in general, because they hadn't started yet and they were having some anxieties. And I realized I haven't really talked about what school has been looking like, given the fact that we're still in the middle of this pandemic and the whole mask and not mask and vaccinations and not vaccinations. And I haven't really talked about what that's like for me at school, and purposefully so, because quite honestly, I'm exhausted of the topic. I think last week or the week before, I realized I had hit a wall of even hearing about it. Not that I don't care, not that I think it's not worth talking about, but just tired of waking up every morning, and that is primarily what we're talking about. And we've been doing that for a year and a half. So I've purposely just not talked about it because I didn't want to, but just remembering the spirit of me uploading daily this year and how we're coming back to some semblance of normalcy from COVID, it's my duty to talk about it. So my response to her was that I feel good about the school year. I'm definitely happy to be back. It's very invigorating and refreshing to be back in the presence of students, your whole class of students, and just the interactions and getting energy from them, and doing lessons in person that I had to do online last year that didn't go well because they weren't really meant to be done online. And just laughing and having a good time and getting to know them and their personalities, that has been great. And so I'm very happy to be back in school, and I have no regrets. I didn't go in really with any anxieties or any worries about what about this and what about this and what about that, because my personality is such that I just don't see the point in me worrying about it or trying to answer all those questions when I literally have no control over it. I just feel like I will get the information that I need when they have it and when they've made some decisions, and prior to that, there's nothing I can do about it. So me worrying about it and harping on it is only causing me damage to a certain extent. So I just kind of take things as they come, even though I'm pretty type A and like to have awareness of everything. There's some things I just know I can't control, and I don't want to expend any energy stressing about those things when I already spend plenty of energy stressing about other things. So there's that. And then I think I've just accepted the fact that things like contact tracing are just going to be a part of the school year. So we've definitely had some cases at my school. The administrators are the ones that are in charge of contact tracing. If they hear that someone's tested positive or someone's been exposed, and from what I hear, that's an all-day affair. If they hear that one student has tested positive, the contact tracing takes the entire workday, from what it sounds like, and it sounds very unpleasant. And of course, if we have a student in our class, or we are directly affected by a student testing positive, then we are informed of that. And then whatever the protocols are for that particular student are what is followed. We still have some parents that are not following those directions. I know I don't know if it was this year, but we had parents who knew their child had tested positive for COVID and were told not to send their child to school, and sent them to school anyway. So we've definitely had those things. I've had no issues with kids refusing to wear their mask, having political messages on their mask, because we were kind of warned about that. The biggest issue I have is just kids not putting their mask over their nose. Some kids, it's an innocent mistake, they don't realize that it's come down. Another kid, I learned he wasn't doing it because he was when I do that, my glasses fog up, which I totally understand. And so I just teach him, okay, if you wear glasses, you have to sit the glasses on top of the mask to prevent that from happening. And then after that, he fixed it. And then I talked to a few kids yesterday who just habitually don't have the mask on correctly, and asked them what's going on? Why is that? And one of them said, well, it's just uncomfortable. So just having the conversation of, I know it's uncomfortable. We're all uncomfortable. No one really loves this. but this is what we have to do to kind of protect ourselves and protect others. And then a couple students who are just not keeping the mask on, and I'm not really sure what the next steps are for that, because I do have to think about the other kids in class that may be compromised to some extent, because I know I have those. So that is how it's been going. Traffic getting into the school is better, but it's still in existence. So yeah, that's how it's been going in terms of school and COVID. Today, right now, I need to go in and look at a leadership lesson I would like to do, but there's a part of me that's not sure we're going to do this today because it is Color Wars Wednesday, and we kind of need to map out how I want the kids to go about campus and check all the teachers to make sure that they are dressed out. So we may be spending the class period doing that. And then language arts and history are all accounted for, and I will share that with you later on today, as well as what I did yesterday, since I just didn't have it together. It wasn't, you know what, it wasn't that I didn't have it together. It was just one of those days. Let's give myself some credit. I had it together. It was just things were taking a lot longer. And because of that, I had to go to Panera for dinner. I didn't cook that chicken. So everybody pray that when I open that chicken tonight to cook it, because I absolutely positively have to cook it tonight, everybody pray that the chicken is okay. Because I don't want to go to the store and buy something that I really already had. So I'm here. Talk to you guys later. All right, it is 5:08. I am getting ready to go home, which is pretty early for me at this point. And before I do that, I need to show you what I did today and yesterday. So let's start with yesterday. So yesterday, it feels like so long ago. I'm teaching history first and language arts second, so I'll start with that because that's just the way that my schedule needs to be to get the support services I need for RSP at the right time. So yesterday in history, yesterday in history, that's how tired I am. Yesterday in history, we talked about culture, and I mentioned yesterday's vlog that we used Megan's culture board that is on Teachers Pay Teachers. And I saw her share this last year and thought, oh, I want to see if I can integrate that in my class somehow. And so that's what I did this year. So we talked about race, we talked about ethnicity, we watched a vocabulary video that explains culture. Let me see if I can click on it and find it for you really quick. If you just type in culture. This is what comes up, and so it does a pretty good job in the lyrics of explaining that culture could be regional, national, ethnic, can vary state to state, etc. So we watched this first, and sometimes, not with this video, but sometimes I will print out, I always forget where I find it. Sometimes I will print out the lyrics to the song. Get it together, Latanya. Where are the lyrics? Is it teacher resources, handouts? No. There it is. I always forget to scroll down. So sometimes I will print out the lyrics if it's a song that I really want them to pay extremely close attention to the lyrics on. So I did that with the other videos and have them annotate, highlight anything that it stands out to them. I didn't do that for this video because I didn't feel like it was necessary. So I just used the video as a jumping off point for the conversation on what exactly culture is, and explain that there's different levels and you can have a subculture within a culture. And then once I felt like they understood that, I told them that they were going to make their own culture boards and showed them this product from Megan. So she has these categories off to the side that are movable, and they can kind of pick. So there's categories there, and there's categories on this side, and then they select the categories they want to talk about, and then they create a text box on each post-it and respond to what cultural practices they have in their family based on that topic. And then the very last question they answer is, what are some of the ways that you learn about other cultures? And before they did theirs, I showed them a sample of mine. So before they did theirs, I showed them a sample of mine. Mine looks like this, so they could see what the end product should look like, and then just made sure that they knew that they could pick whichever one that they wanted. And then I had a few students share for the past couple of days. Not everybody had to share, but a couple did. But I encouraged them by saying, like, I love learning stuff like this about people, and it's a good opportunity for all of us. And so I had a decent amount of kids share.
I'll do chores. So chores haven't always been stressed in our household, but most recently, as me and my sisters grow a lot older, especially me, cleaning up after yourself is mandatory and always has been. And doing chores when you have the chance is important because I have like after school activities sometimes, so doing chores for me when I get the chance is important. And one more, I'll do relationships. So my family has always been big on the concept of healthy relationships, both platonically and romantically when we are of age. The main rule of thumb is that you deserve someone who respects you the way that you want to be respected and that you would respect that same person.
Good. And then can you share with us other ways that you learn about cultures?
Okay, so other ways that I learn about other cultures is having exposure and being open-minded to different cultures, making friends who are different from me, and going over to their houses and seeing the food that they eat and the way that they dress, and then becoming closer with them so that I'm familiar with their culture as well as mine.
Okay. And so that's what we did with history/social studies yesterday. And then for language arts, I read them another picture book. I read them, let me turn that, Creepy Pair of Underwear, which I just love this book because it's cute, and told them that, because we had watched a video on vocabulary that talked about conflict and how you need conflict in a story, and then if you don't have conflict in a story, you really don't have a story. And it talks about the different kinds of conflict, internal conflict versus external, conflicts of character versus character, character versus society, characters versus nature, etc. Define words like protagonist and antagonist. So we watched that video, talked about it, and then I said, I'm going to read you this story called Creepy Pair of Underwear. And all I really want you to focus on is figuring out what was the conflict of the story. And what kind of conflict was it? Was it character versus character, character versus self, character versus society? Was it internal? Was it external? So we read that and then we talked about it, and we had a pretty good discussion in one class because I feel like, if you know the story, the conflict is internal because he's scared of his glow-in-the-dark underwear, but the underwear really aren't scary. It's just kind of what he has in his mind. So I said that was internal, but another student said that maybe it was external because the underwear were the thing that was causing him this fear. And so it's not necessarily wrong, it's just different perceptions. But if the fact that he was able to explain why he thought it was external and that it was actually an external thing was good enough for me. So that's pretty much what we did yesterday with language arts and social studies/history. Today we did the, I just cannot remember 1 minute from the next. Today we did the read and respond activity from vocabulary that went along with the conflict video. We read through some example problems together, made sure that they can identify things correctly in relationship to conflict. We did that together. And as far as history, I'm telling this out of order, sorry. As far as history today, we started looking at sourcing materials and understanding the importance of, when we're reading historical information, documents, textbooks, whatever the case may be, that we have to be able to source them, meaning who wrote this, when did they write it, why did they write it, could their perspective or experiences alter the way they talk about a particular incident in history. And so we used a lesson from the Stanford History Education Group called Lunch Fight. There's 2 parts to this, and I'll show you just what it looks like on the screen. I can't really show you a student paper. We're gonna do the second one tomorrow, but the first one is what we did today. And so I have it on Canva. I made a Canva slide and just kind of summarize the teacher materials on something that was just more visually appealing. So the situation is, it says, imagine that you are the principal of a school and you just found out that there was a fight in the cafeteria during lunch. You've asked many students and teachers who witnessed the fight to write down what they should say saw, what they saw and who they think started the fight. Unfortunately, you have received many conflicting accounts that disagree not only as to who started the fight, but who was involved and when the fight even started. While investigating, it is important to remember that no one is just plain lying. So this text came from the directions they have on their paper. I just like to put it on something like this because it's more engaging to look at. And then in pairs, I meant to change that picture. This has nothing to do with that. In pairs, it says, discuss and answer the 3 questions posed. Why would there be different stories of the event, even if no one is just plain lying? What are the different types of people that may have seen this fight? What might make one person's story more believable than another? So, first, please don't judge for the typos there. I forgot to make that, and so I had to make that on the spot very quickly. I will fix the typos when I get home. And so we discussed those questions in pairs first, and then we discussed them as a whole group. And they were able to get to the point where they realized, well, people may tell the event or describe the fight differently because maybe they have a friend in the fight, or maybe they don't really want to get involved, or maybe they only saw a portion of the fight and didn't see the whole thing, or maybe someone told them what happened at the fight and they're reporting a version of the fight that came from someone else, and that can alter how they see it. Maybe they were involved in the fight and kind of just were so caught up in the emotion of the moment that they aren't able to remember it correctly. So I said, you want to take those ideas and those understandings about why this lunch fight may have been described in different ways, and we're going to apply that to when we look at historical documents. People are telling stories and versions of things that have happened in different ways because it depends on like their perspective. Do they gain something from telling it one way versus the other? So we did that today, and then tomorrow is the follow-up to this, where they have to now think about stories corroborating with each other, what makes one person more reliable than the other, and then, you know, finding actual evidence that supports what someone says, and what do you do with that? So that is what happened there. Everything else as far as leadership, today was a color wars day, so everybody was supposed to wear their house colors and they got points for that. That's going well. Generally, it's just all the little kinks and technical issues that we need to figure out with the app and making sure everybody's getting it done or getting the app downloaded correctly and understands how to use it. But the fact that people are actively trying to do it and asking me questions is a good sign, and I think I said that yesterday. Right now, my house, Blvd, is in last place, not by a lot. And one of the houses has like a fairly significant amount of people more than the other houses, and they are in the lead. So the wheels that we have, that house will be removed in terms of like the number of opportunities a person has to land on that when they spin, because we want to keep the houses as balanced as possible. So that was my day. My desk was a hot mess there for a second. I've cleaned it up. I've cleaned up all my things. I have my belongings packed and ready to go, and I am heading out, heading home, and hoping that this chicken is okay. Because if it's not, I'm probably gonna have to go to the store, and I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the vlog here. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. If you are not following me on Instagram, you are missing out. Follow me over there. You can find me at Smarty Style. And as always, I hope that you are well. And if you are not well, please be well. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.